And you wanted to talk about Amen Thompson in particular, who I agree with you is such an interesting player for many reasons, and I could see his NBA trajectory go like so many different ways. Like you mentioned, some of his defensive prowess. He's so dynamic and athletic with the ball is incredible. But yeah, what do you want to talk about with Amen's particularly?
I just don't know how to project forward for him at all. I've never. I mean, I'm basically saying the same thing that you just said because basically what I'm trying to say is it could just go so many different directions. But you watch him, he already has such good feel, and I mean offensively too. He's such a good connector. He's already so good at processing. He makes these intermediate passes just so well when he's driving or when he's in transition. But his shooting is so bad. It's so bad.
It's really bad. Like it looks broken. But is his mid range shooting that bad?
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it is. Damn.
Yeah,
His mid
it's
range
bad.
shooting's bad. His 3 point shooting's bad. His free throw shooting's bad. Um,
His free throw shooting is not like Mitchell Robinson bad, but it's bad.
yeah, I mean it's bad for a guard to shoot less than 70% from the free throw line.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
Is he a
mean,
guard though? This is another question I have. Like I know he's listed as a shooting guard, but what is
right.
he?
That's the thing. And you texted me about Amen the other day, and I texted you, or I think I texted you something about a highlight clip of him like kind of going off, getting into the paint, having all kinds of sick finishing, looking like a facsimile, as you would say, of SGA in a way.
I would say something way stupid. As I did earlier in this episode.
Yeah. But yeah, and I just said like I think a lot of these guys are essentially on-ball creators or point guards masquerading as wings. And I think if you put Amen Thompson in that role where he's the on-ball creator and doesn't have this burden of like catch and shoot, like spacing role, I think he's a completely different player. I think he's not really guardable in that kind of role where he's just attacking the basket relentlessly with his size, with his athleticism, with his dynamic movements, with his ability to get into the paint and finish over people, like his ability to hang in the air and finish. Like I think it's a different story for him if he's in that role as opposed to this where he needs to be a guy who can space out, who can, do something off the catch, attacking closeouts, is something that he can be good at. But I just think with the ball in his hands is really where he's most dynamic. And until he gets a shot, I just feel like he's going to be misused at being this wing prototype.
So you think, and I guess I'm shifting a little bit to theory again, just after we just had a half-hour conversation about macro theory. You think that non-shooting players are more tenable as initiating guards than as wings?
100%. Yes, I believe that. Yeah. And you can poke holes in it. I think like, so for instance, SGA is a good shooter now. He's good. I wouldn't say he's an amazing shooter, but he's a good shooter. I don't think SGA would need to shoot 35% or whatever from three to be as dominant as he is. I think he could shoot 30% from three and still like, what are you going to do with him? If you just give him space, he's going to close the space and he's going to get into the paint with a head of steam. You can't stop him by giving him space when he has the ball. If he doesn't have the ball, you can stop him by giving him space because he's going to catch it and be in no man's land. And then the whole play resets. So I just think that if you have like the guys who I'm willing to accept non-shooting for, if those who don't know, I love shooting. I think it's the most important thing in the game of basketball. Both definitely off the ball, not as much on the ball. I think if you have the ball in your hands, that's the only guy who I'm willing to accept doesn't shoot. If he's like an SGA, if he's like a De'Aaron Fox, if he's a guy like that who can get into the paint at will and you can't stop him from getting into the paint, all I need is paint access from my guard, from my on-ball creator. I need paint access and I need good decisions once he gets there. And if he can finish and make good decisions, then I don't think they need to shoot that well.
I guess my only pushback here is I'm not sure even like Ja Morant would be Ja Morant if he wasn't the passer he is. Not sure. I'm very sure.
Ja Morant's such a good passer.
Such a good passer. And I mean, look, he's already more of a threat now. He's more of a threat than Amen Thompson is. Early Amen Thompson is. So what do you like, if Amen Thompson is initiating a bunch of offense, and I think he's more of a connective passer than he is like a create type of passer, if that makes sense. So I'm not sure right now how he is creating offense, because the only effective offense he creates for himself is at the rim. He's in the 65th percentile at the rim, finishing at the rim, and he gets there a decent amount. I don't know. Like I just this is befuddling me. I'm truly lost because he's so special. He has so many things: the defense, the athleticism, the connection ability. You don't just wake up with these skills, and he almost feels like a guard slash wing version of Obi Toppin. Like Obi is really special in his own ways. Of course, Obi can shoot, but there are things that Obi can't do that Amen Thompson can. And I don't think the league has figured out, like even the Pacers who are doing fine with him and Obi's playing well, how to truly maximize Obi. Like he hasn't been put in a situation yet. And I don't know how to maximize Amen Thompson. I'm not sure the Rockets do either.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. I guess I'm just thinking about it from the standpoint of, and you bring up great points, of course. I'm just thinking about it from the standpoint of like, what's an easier skill to develop? And maybe I'm wrong for assuming this. I assume that like passing is something that it's an easier skill to develop than shooting at a high level. And I think he already has some passing chops. I don't think he's there to be like, you immediately dump him in and say, hey, create offense for us. But I think he could get there. I could more easily see him getting there than I could see him turning into like a 35% 3-point shooter, which would be double what his percentage is currently right now. So that's where I'm having the most trouble seeing. But people know more than me and better than me, like what's an easier skill to develop over time. Maybe shooting is something that he can develop into. Being a standstill catch and shoot 35% guy would give him the career that we can imagine for him.
If you gave him 35% shooting, he would just like immediately be an all-star, or 35% 3-point shooting. He would be a fringe all-star like right now. Like,
you think at like standstill catch and shoot? So I'm saying like he's literally just has to spot up. Like,
okay.
Yeah, no. I'm not overall, but like essentially no pull-ups ever. Like just literally he's open 6 feet of space and he can hit it at a 35% clip.
Yeah. Okay. That not fringe all-star, because that's still not enough. But that'd be a really good player. And like it's crazy. I think to me it highlights how gifted he is, that he's above average in the NBA right now by EPM, by overall impact by EPM. That's bananas. Like a young guy who was drafted, barely not even a year ago, and you're telling him, oh, by the way, you can't shoot. Like you're that bad at shooting that, and other teams know it. They cheat off him. Nobody cares if he's open and has the ball in his hands, and he's finding a way to impact the game. Not even at the highest level, I just don't know what that looks like long term. And I just keep coming back to, I think he just has to develop some semblance of a shot. I guess the last question on the Amen Thompson thing I'll ask, and I want to send it back to you. You're always looking for proof of concept. What is the analogous player to Amen Thompson where it's like, oh yeah, he could just be that and it would work? What is there one?
I mean, you mean like for what I'm selling as what I think his role could be, or kind of like in the wing type archetype role?
Either.
Well, I think that we've seen point guards who can get into the paint and who don't shoot well. I mean, obviously, Ja is the name that pops out. He shot 30. What did he shoot from three last year? 30.7% from three last year, and still was 90.
Really difficult shot diet. Like all he does is shoot pull-ups and self-created threes.
Yeah, that's true.
He's not ever shooting off the catch.
That's
still almost double Amen Thompson. Like we're talking about like Elfrid Payton. Like this is Knicks Elfrid Payton.
What about like no, because D Rose even shot better than that. Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I don't really have an answer for you. He's got to get better at shooting.
Yeah,
at least a little bit.
almost deflating watching his shots. Like they're so like it's almost like the guy is never like I know he has, but some of the shots that come off his hands, it's like, dude, like what? What is it? What I just and it I don't know. He's 6'7", so but I agree with you. You don't see small forwards or even really many power forwards in the league who are that inept at shooting threes. So right now he has to be a guard. He has to be, Ben Simmons. Like, is Ben Simmons the answer?
Ben Simmons might be the answer. Obviously, Ben Simmons is a little bigger, so a little more versatile defensively, could guard centers in many cases. But yeah, Ben Simmons could be the comp potentially.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad I landed on that name because I literally had nothing. I had nothing to go off of that was like, oh, this is what Amen Thompson could be. I don't think that Amen Thompson is as gifted as a passer as Simmons is, but I think he has the athleticism and between the ears, and the overall physical build. I think he can approach Ben Simmons' defensive impact. And so, yeah, I mean, and look, we've seen. I know Simmons is kind of I don't want to say a joke, but like the joke is like he can't even stay on the court. But dude just missed weeks or over a month of playing time, just showed up and had a triple double in 20 minutes. Like Ben Simmons can still help your team if he's healthy. The problem is staying healthy. I think that Amen Thompson, if he followed the Ben Simmons trajectory, can help teams and can help the Rockets. Do you?
I think so, but I also think that Ben Simmons, like now, would probably not. I don't know. I want to because Ben Simmons, okay, shot like not at all his first like throughout his whole career basically. Like I don't know how many 3-point attempts he has in his career, but it's a very low number. Didn't make any in his rookie. Well, what was his rookie season? Obviously, he sat out his first season. Didn't make any in his second season, but still was a really high impact, or not really high, a relatively high impact offensive player. So, yeah, maybe that's the only comp potentially. I think you're right. I think, but again, Ben Simmons was the guard in those cases, right? He was a giant guard, and that's part of the value that he gave on the offensive end. So I don't think Ben Simmons as a wing is going to be able to do that.
And it is interesting looking at Simmons' offensive EPM trajectory from a percentile standpoint. It's just straight down. It's just like he got worse relative to the league every single year he was in the league. And so
yeah.
It's almost like that's indicating little by little, in spite of his immense physical gifts, the league just figured out his lack of shooting and how to exploit it a little bit more each season.
That's what I was going to suggest. I didn't feel comfortable saying like, we plop 22-year-old Ben Simmons into the modern NBA fully healthy and he wouldn't be that guy necessarily, but potentially, yeah, it might not work anymore. On offense, yeah. Obviously on defense, he'd be a monster.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I'm just excited to watch it unfold. I don't know. He's just a really cool player and he's a really unique player. And I mean, we've seen guys figure out being helpful when they can shoot. Like, it's almost to the point where it's like, that's not super interesting anymore. It would be cool if Amen Thompson figured out to shoot. I think that would give us a data point of like, oh, bad shooters can solve it. But it would also be cool if he found a way to, make a place for himself as an impactful player without learning it. Because it would
I would kind of more be interested in that. Like if he was able to make an impact without shooting, that would be more interesting to me than if he learned how to shoot. Although it would be super interesting to say, okay, a guy can come into the league, have no clue how to shoot, and then learn it over time and be good at it. That would be interesting too. But I more would be interested to see, a guy who can't shoot. How can they impact the game?